Hello and welcome to episode 95 of Sensational She-Geek live from Yancey Street. This episode will be a little bit different because I don't frankly have enough other content such as news and whatnot to talk about. We obviously will have the James Gunn, the Superman Legacy theories and rumors of castings and whatnot we'll talk about in a little bit, but not so much news otherwise than that. But we also have the Tarot Card of the Week, which is our regular one of our segments. It's number 8 this week, Strength. And then our manga of the week is one that is not, as far as I know, officially published in English anywhere. So we don't need to get into how I'm reading that. But it's called The Fed Up Office Lady Wants to Serve the Villainess. What a title. We've talked before about how I love how manga titles are and anime titles are very descriptive of their series. I have not read any of the recent comic books, and to be frank, I am also behind on the free comic book day books. But we do have some more stuff to talk about. The only new spring English dub anime that has come up is Sacrificial Princess and the King of the Beast, which I have some thoughts on. Or concerns, we'll see. But then we'll talk about it's the James Gunn Superman Legacy rumors, and then we'll talk a little bit about Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, because we actually haven't seen the whole movie yet. But we'll talk about that probably towards the end. But it'll be more of a free reign episode, if that's cool with you guys. But that's how we're gonna do it this week. Starting off with our weekly tarot studies of the major arcana, this week is card number 8, titled Strength. There's not so much history that I have on this card, as much as description, symbolism, meaning, etc. So we'll start off here. Historically, the card has been called Fortitude. It has been either card 8 or 9, depending on who is the base creator of the deck that it's based on. It is accompanying 2 other cardinal virtues, so to say. Those are temperance and justice. The card can be either a woman with a lion or a woman subduing a stone pillar. Cards that were found from the 1470s display actually both, and would have been called Fortezza, which is fortitude, somewhat Italian version of what Fortezza means. Traditionally, the card is number 11 because of the different changes throughout history. However, the Rider-Waite-Smith tarot deck, which came from the early 20th century, changed the card of Strength to number 8. Still, though, I said before, it can be number 8 or 9, depending on the deck's creator. As for what the card stands for, its literal interpretation is power, energy, action, courage, and magnanimity. Also, according to Mr. Waite, it is also complete success and honors. Reversed, he has it listed as despotism, abuse of power, weakness, discord, sometimes even disgrace. As for the literal description of what is happening in the card and the symbolism of that description, we see a woman leaning over a lion. She is often clasping its jaws. She has tamed this wild beast with her calming and loving energy. The lion is her raw passions and desires, and her taming it shows she can express her passion in positive ways, with inner resilience. The holding of its jaws shows her courage. There is an infinity symbol above her head, like a figure 8, and the white robe she wears shows her purity of spirit. That infinity symbol represents her infinite potential and wisdom. The flowers, which appear on her belt, crown, and the lion around the lion's neck, represent the fullest and most beautiful expressions of nature. The lion itself is a necessary part of life. Mountains in the background and sky in the background show her stability and the calmness that it comes with. As for pop culture references of the Strength card in the Major Arcana of Tarot, in JoJo's Bizarre Adventure, we've mentioned this before, tarot cards are used to name the character's powers, which are called stands. One of the Stardust Crusaders, called Forever, has a stand named Strength, named after this card. The stand takes the form of a massive cargo ship, apparently led by a gorilla, so that's rather fun. In the Marvel Tarot, The card of strength, according to this fictional writer of this diary, represents the character of the Golem, which I'm not entirely sure if that's a specific character or if it's just kind of an overall description of a type of person. So what it says here in his journal is, at first I mistook the gray granite gentleman on the strength card for it, the living colossus, but the letters on his forehead clearly identified him as the Golem. In Hebrew folklore, the Golem was an inanimate protector of the Jewish people who brought to life by God or the word emet, which is the Hebrew word for truth, on its forehead or on the clay tablet under its tongue. By erasing the first letter in emet to form met, which is the Hebrew word for dead, the golem could be deactivated. I thought this particular golem had been deactivated for a few decades now, but word is spreading that the mighty mineral mensch is back and dealing with some sort of Suris in New York. Whatever any of that means. If you are aware of some mythology on the Marvel Comics Golem, because apparently that's a character, let me know, because that's one I'm familiar with. Lastly, for the Natasha Iglesias anime tarot, where she goes through and gives various anime archetypes and symbols to various tarot cards, especially the major arcana. She has here that the major arcana card of the strength card, number 8, represents the anime and manga samurai. What she says here is, strength's the analog in anime is the samurai. Frequently appearing in historical anime, the samurai were military nobility of medieval and early modern Japan. They typically adhered to codes of honor, courage, and dignity, but anime representations vary based on character's backstory. While they were paid retainers of the daimyo, the feudal landholders, which you may recognize that word from the Book of Boba Fett, thank you very much, samurai were depicted in Japanese propaganda as beloved warriors of the people. Our manga of the week, as I mentioned previously, is The Fed Up Office Lady Wants to Serve the Villainess. I have to admit, I have kind of been on this kick of isekai villainess mangas and animes. I very much enjoy that, and I will not pretend that I don't. This one is written by Nekaturo Taru. I don't know anything else of what they have previously written, but this one is only about 7 or 8 chapters in. Super, super fun. Not published in English, so you'll have to do your own work to find where you can read that in English if you want to. What the publisher has to say about the plot itself, from their words, it is a heart-pounding re-employment story between a fed-up corporate slave and a cold, callous villainess. 3 years after graduating college, Natori Midori, that's funny, it rhymes, who once idealized grown-up adults she saw as a child, is working hard at her job as a temporary employee. However, one day her contract is suddenly terminated for an absurd reason. As she sits there wondering if she would ever be a workplace for her to devote herself to, her phone flashes and she finds herself in the world of the novel RPG she was playing. And before her eyes is the villainous Lapis Tenebrae, who betrayed the heroine and committed countless atrocities before losing her life. My own description is basically, jaded temp worker is sucked into the phone game she plays, which is called Fairy Tale of Jewels. She has been summoned as the familiar for the woman who ends up being the game's villain before her eventual death, Lapis Tenebrae, who is very much along the mommy trope, so if you need a reason to read it, there's one. She is able to use her knowledge of the plot, as in the main character, to be of immediate use and extreme use to Lady Lapis, whose long-term plot in the game is to wipe out all of the world's commoners before she is killed by her fiancé, the prince. This world eventually runs out of magic and... Oh, sorry, I said that wrong. It runs on magic, and magic comes from various crystals and stones that a person can wear to wield the power of, usually passed down through their family. The manga's main character sees how much and how hard Lapis actually works, and eventually, or very quickly rather, swears that she will help her in any way she can in an attempt to ultimately change Lapis's fate and save her life. One of the things, this has obviously not been made into a anime yet, I hope that eventually will. There is a lot of sparkles and kind of sparkle effects in the art because of the various gem-based magics. I very much think that could get made into an anime, and that they would pretty easily be able to show that in the animation, and it would be frankly gorgeous. There's a couple of recent animes that have come out. I can think of Girlfriend being one where the art, who cares about the plot? The art particularly is fantastic. The art in their eyes, the way they draw that, the coloring and everything. Really, really great. And so I feel like that kind of trend of creativity in anime art would definitely be one that would be fully utilized if they were to make this manga into an anime. The four main characters of the manga obviously are the main character first, Natori, and then you have Lapis and Diana, who is the original story's protagonist, the protagonist in the game that Natori played in her world. And finally, the prince, whose name is Gran, which, yes, is a little confusing because it sounds like they're addressing an old woman most of the time. Still, Natori is the main character. She is 25. Not a whole lot of extra stuff to really be said about her. She's a classic anime protagonist. However, she really seems to be confusing her big gay crush on Lapis Tenebrae for the feeling of being happily recognized for a job well done. I'm very curious how long that will take her to realize that she's actually fallen head over heels for her previously in another world villainous boss. As for Lapis, she is of course Natori's boss and the story's original villainess who is fated to die. She actually is a very hard worker who cares deeply for her family's legacy, and she still clearly has a very deep dislike / hatred or distaste of the commoners of her world due to what really amounts to the follow of their lack of education in pretty much all aspects. Even when she's hired Lapis as her even as Diana is hired as Lapis's secretary, she is still Lapis's familiar as well, which is very important. So she has to wait with the animals because none of the other familiars are human. She's kind of the first. After a brief time with Natori as her secretary, Lapis is able to clearly understand, appreciate, and articulate the many minor things that make up a job well done by Natori, and very much that becomes very much the dynamic where Natori is unexpectedly, from her perspective, complimented on her work, job well done by Lapis, and kind of like flutters into oblivion. She's a little bit in love with her, we know that. And then there's Diana, who is the story's original protagonist and the main character of the game, which is called, Fairy Tale of Jewels, the game that Natori plays in her original world. Diana is, however, she was formerly a commoner, but brought into the magical school that she's in because she is extremely powerful and comes across a powerful gem. She calls Natori Natalie for some reason. She can't seem to wrap her head around that one. And it's really easy to get her and Natori confused when you're looking at the art, the way to kind of define them separately. Natori has a low ponytail. Diana has a very high ponytail with bangs. So that's the way that I kind of differentiated them when I was getting to know the characters. Natori also doesn't have a gem at her collar like the others. Even Diana, having been a commoner, is still able to use magic, which is unusual of commoners. She has the ability, importantly, to use mimicry magic, which makes her incredibly powerful because she can send back any spell that was sent towards her pretty much tenfold without even needing to learn the spell properly. She can just mimic it. Then the last important character is the prince, aka Gran. He is Lapis's fiancé and the future king. He's also obsessed with summoned familiars. He's kind of a geek in the sense of animals, I guess is what you would say, magical animals. In the original story that Natori plays on her game, he is the one to kill Lapis. He meets Natori in this manga when she falls from a clock tower, which was a genuine accident, regardless of how it looked, and he is able to save her. Diana has a secret crush on the handsome stranger from the past, and it turns out to be the prince, which I don't think she's learned quite yet in the manga where we've gotten to yet. When the prince discovers what a great secretary Natori is for Lapis, Lapis offers her Natori to his aid, but Natori refuses to work for anybody but her mistress because, like I said, she's in love with her, and she doesn't know it yet. I would love to see this one made into an anime. I may or may not have multiple wallpapers of Lapis Tenebrae on my computer and phone. Thank you very much. Good night. The remaining parts of the podcast is pretty much going to be me and Adam having a nice little chat about current events in comics and pop culture comic media. That's going to include Tom King's Wonder Woman, James Gunn Superman, and a little bit of Guardians of the Galaxy. Although I guess I did mention Sacrificial Princess and the King of the Beasts, we have 2 English dubbed episodes of this one. First episode was a little concerning, I won't lie. Seems to be kind of just a furry dream. We've kind of straightened that out a little bit, I think. I think it's not quite gonna be that intense. But it is still very much this young girl falling in love with this beast creature. Thanks, Disney. That was your idea first, I think. But anyway, it's interesting. I'll keep up with it. I think the only one that I took off of my watch list for anime this season so far was The Hero is Dead or something like that. Real bad. That last episode was pretty horrible. Just there's no defending it. So we're gonna move on. Speaking of, Tom King's Wonder Woman is what's coming next. Wonder Woman number 800?
800, yeah.
800, that's Adam, he's here with me. That's where we're getting the, I guess, wrap-up of the Becky Cloonan and Michael Conrad series. Which is a great example for why couples shouldn't write comics together, if you really want my opinion on that one. And that'll be also the kickoff to the Tom King Sempere? What's his first name?
I think, yeah.
Daniel Sempere, that's what it is. That'll be the duo who's doing the bulk of the upcoming Wonder Woman series. And in the past 48 hours, maybe? They've put out some new information about that series. First point is going to be about the Wonder Girls, including, of course, Yara Flor, who I very much enjoy still from Future State. She is one who I really, really would like to see them be bringing out into the comics a lot more. But Tom King came out and said that Yara and the other Wonder Girls, who is a Cassie and Donna, are all going to have parts of that story. They all are important to the DCU and important to Wonder Woman's history, so they will continue to have their own stories that are somewhat tied into this one, is what it kind of seems to be, to his Wonder Woman story. Now, as for his Wonder Woman story, and I do agree, Adam, that there are multiple kind of views to take on this particular announcement, and I was relieved that it wasn't what I thought at first. But Wonder Woman is going to be, or rather the Tom King is going to be introducing Wonder Woman's daughter, official canon as far as we can all tell. Her name is Trinity as her hero name. I'm not sure if it stands for anything, but her human or Earth name is Lizzie. Tom King posted it saying, "Meet Lizzie, daughter of Diana, Trinity, daughter of Wonder Woman." The hero name Trinity really fits for obvious reasons. The thing that kind of immediately came to my mind when I saw this initial post, she looks just like a young Diana, very great, extremely tall, was what we want, so that's fantastic. She has the pants, which again, I feel like that's just the
natural progression.
Yeah, the natural progression, especially for the daughter of Wonder Woman, if that is literally what she is. There's a lot of things that she could be, that's not literally the daughter of Wonder Woman. Of course, the initial concern being, oh god, why does Wonder Woman have to give birth to a baby? I really don't want to see a pregnant Wonder Woman as a superhero in the comics. I don't want her to take 9 months out to have a baby. I feel like that's stupid. I don't know if that's wrong. I don't really care. That's just my opinion. I think a pregnant Wonder Woman in the comics is absolutely stupid. That being said, I don't think we need that for this. And yes, Adam, you brought up the point the other day that it's really a little bit disappointing. Now we'll have to wait and see how the series goes. It's a little disappointing that a writer with the caliber of Tom King is given the Wonder Woman series, and what does he immediately go and do with the character? Gives her a baby, makes her a mother, which is arguably, or maybe not even arguably, the most cliche thing you can do with a female superhero. Female character of anything, really, I think. When writers don't know what to do with characters, I've said this for years, they make them pregnant. They make them lose their pregnancy. Anything tied along with that, they don't know what to do with this female character, give them pregnancy drama. That's generally how things go. It is a little bit disappointing in that aspect, because of the assumption that this is going to be a standard birthing situation. The hope, I think, is that this is not that. Adam, you had written on Twitter, what was it, on Instagram, just please don't be Steve Trevor's kid. Yeah. I know there's a lot of discourse about Diana and Steve Trevor. In my opinion, there is no other, unless I'm mistaken, there is no other superhero who has been stuck with their first love interest through their entire history. Clark Kent hasn't even been stuck with that. I don't think Green Arrow has even been stuck with that. He's had lots of affairs, let's be honest. Yeah. Diana doesn't need to be stuck to Steve Trevor, let's also be real. He's incredibly boring as a love interest. Wild boring. This is your cliche white, blonde, blue-eyed military man. There's nothing else about him. There's literally nothing.
Great Value brand, was it Captain America? No, not even Captain America. What is it? Steve Rogers. Great Value brand, Steve Rogers.
That feels completely accurate to what I feel like this character is. But that doesn't have to be how it goes. It doesn't have to be necessarily even a pregnancy. We were talking about it. Did you want to lead the discussion on...
Yeah.
Other option.
I left that comment, and somebody brought up the great point. They were like, "Yeah, I agree with you as well." Basically they were like, the only logical thing could be is that if Diana does the same thing her mother did and makes a child from the sand. I would love that because Tom King is a writer who could have so much fun with the themes and meanings of all of that.
With a child made from nothing. With just intention.
Exactly. And that's kind of the whole thing. I love that because like Diana's kind of getting to the point her mother is transcended to being a goddess or whatever now. Yep. Nubia is the one who's ruling Themyscira, so it's kind of like Diana's like, yeah, I have the Justice League, that's whatever, but I kind of need something to love and something to nurture and cherish, because her whole thing is her power is love and caring and nurturing. So
I didn't really think about that, the fact that she doesn't really have a role aside from just being a Justice League member right now.
Yeah. So
that would be kind of nice to give her that extra role. And we've seen sidekicks. Sidekicks haven't always worked out the way that we've wanted them to. But this takes it, I guess, a step further than a sidekick, especially since what he said was what they're starting the story with in Wonder Woman 800, I guess is what it'll be, or 801, and we'll see, is an arc about 20 years in the future.
Yes.
And then what we're going to see in his run is them building up to that point. Whether or not she has a father, Lizzie has a father in this, I will see that in his run, unless they do that stupid Batman stuff and take away his last 20 issues, which let's not even get into that. Thank you, Batcat, for mostly settling that. But anyway. But it'll be really nice to see, especially assuming this is not going to be like Future State, where it's a theoretical future. Which, yes, I'm still thankful that Yara Flor and a lot of the other favorite characters have still come into somewhat relevance. But this is something that, unless we're all extremely mistaken, is going to be very much the future of the character of Wonder Woman. You can't really give them a child. We've seen it with Damian Wayne. We've seen it with John Kent. You can't give one of these characters a child and just ignore them. It just isn't how these stories work. So I think it'll be really interesting. And especially if you read the Kelly Thompson, Kelly Sue DeConnick, the other Kelly, who wrote Captain Marvel. The Kelly Sue DeConnick, what was it? The Amazons?
Amazon, Historia.
Historia, thank you. If you read Historia, especially that last issue, those were, whether or not that series is 100% canon, it was written with such an amount of love for female readers of comics. I can't even begin to describe how fantastic it was to experience as a reader, as a female reader. But the end of it is basically it's a DC Black Label comic, so who's to say really if it's canon or not. But the end of it is where you get kind of the redefinition of Wonder Woman's origin, which is her mother has lost massive amounts of her human army that she had tried to start here in the spirit of the Amazon, so to say. She sent off the 2 other leaders of the 2 other tribes to start the 2 other Amazon tribes elsewhere in the world, which is something that, you know, canonically makes a lot of sense now, especially, which is frankly super cool in my opinion that they filled that gap in. And then she goes and she tries to kill herself on the beach by drowning herself. And in that moment, she hears a baby cry, and she comes up onto the sand. And the weird little figure she had molded into the sand with her hands is now a baby child, a baby girl, and that is her Diana. And all of the goddesses of the Greek pantheon are there standing around her. She can't see them, but they're all standing there, and they can see her, and they can see Diana, and the gift to her, which was this perfect child, to make up for the fact that she just raised this incredible army in their names, and it didn't really go that well. It was a really great series. Please read it. But anyway, point being, that was a really big moment in whether or not it's canon DC or not. That felt very true to the character of Diana, and I'm really hoping that Tom King, man or, you know, male or not, he figures out how to write that as well, hopefully, as Kelly Sue DeConnick did with that final issue of Historia. Do you have any thoughts on the Daughter of Wonder Woman?
Yeah, I thought it was really cool how they posted a little like teaser snippet of John and Damian Batman, John Superman and Damian Batman with her. That's I don't know, for some reason it's like really cool to see, like 80 years later now these two the Trinity of DC now have their own, I guess at this point,
second Trinity.
Yeah, they're technically own all of those, like the actual like biological children of them, regardless if Lizzie is crafted by Clay or not. Still, like it is. I think
it counts based on what Wonder Woman is. I think it counts completely.
Well, considering that she still considers Hippolyta her mother, and nobody questions that, I feel like you definitely could consider that, and it's really cool.
She's not Zeus's daughter. Let's just stop there for a second. Yes. Wonder Woman is not Zeus's daughter. Anyway.
Yes. Speaking of, I love how Daniel Warren Johnson did that. How he mixed basically what it was is that Diana was
with
molded,
the Dead Earth. Dead Earth.
Yeah, Dead Earth.
Oh God, that's Daniel another Warren Black Johnson. Label series that if you haven't read, it's not canon, but holy shit, it's
metal as
bonkers good.
So what he did with I don't expect Tom King to do this at all.
No,
but what Daniel Warren Johnson is metal as fuck.
It was awesome.
Hippolyta and all the other Amazons killed all like Zeus and all his men. So what she did is she made Diana via clay. But it was with the blood of Zeus.
It wasn't just Zeus. It was the blood of all of the gods. Yep.
Yeah. So
that's why she was so fucking lethal.
That's why she's so strong. And I'll never like that. That was so metal. I was like, well, I would low-key want that to be the main. Because it just rocks and it makes so much sense for her. But yeah, highly recommend Wonder Woman Dead Earth. But yeah, as I was saying, it's really cool to see them finally get this thing. And also another tidbit is somebody who is I guess I consider myself a Grant Morrison fanboy, but I love their Batman. I adore their Batman and Robin, and then just Batman solo series. They're doing the Damian Batman suit. That is cool. It's not necessarily the Damian who made the deal with the devil to save Gotham, but I like that they're keeping that consistent of this is the suit that Damian wore when he becomes Batman. It's really cool to see.
We'd already seen, and this is something that the canonology, whatever you want to say, the canonness of it kind of throws me off, but I'm really, really, really hoping that they're honestly just trying to straighten it out, because they just gave us the potential future of Future State, right? And everybody loved Yara and John and Jace Fox. Thank you. The three of them were fantastic together, especially since it was John trying to become his father, which by the end of it, he realized he needed to become his own version of himself and a super character, and that was great. It was Yara as not a daughter of Wonder Woman, but as this completely new entity, and it was Jace as somebody from another state being a Batman in another part of the country, coming back and trying to help out with the shit at home, basically. And so they didn't really have a connection amongst each other, except for the fact that they held the mantles. I still really, really love that. I love that trio. I think it's fantastic. Being 20 years in the future with Lizzie, aka Trinity, I think that we're just going to see kind of a time where Jace goes back to New York, maybe. Yara goes back to South America, possibly, or somewhere else in the world where she's needed. Who knows? Maybe she's off in space. And that's why it's left these gaps for John to bring in the actual daughter of Wonder Woman and the actual son of Batman in Damian. I would very much like those two possible futures to be very much still the future. I think it would be a little bit disingenuous to the fans to take either one of those out and be like, oh no, only one or the other. You can do both. Why not both? Isn't KSS though? What is the thing? Well, why not both?
And it's another thing, and it's another thing. It's really disappointing how DC is extremely underused it. I know Joshua Williamson tried to do it in his brief run, but Batman Incorporated. There can be a Batman around everywhere in the world.
Oh,
so that's the whole thing. Like, so why can't there be another Wonder Woman? And, that was the whole thing of the R. Floor series, is her finding that sect of Amazons in South America.
Yes, discovering the whole other world of things that we don't even know.
Like that. So, Jace could freely be Batman in New York because New York. If anybody's
ever been Spider-Man going somewhere else.
Exactly. So anybody has been in New York. They would definitely benefit from a Batman-esque character. But that whole kind of thing of why people who have this weird narrative that Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman can only exist in the Justice League headquarters at that point in time. No, there can be across the world, all of them. There's what's his name, Mon-El, the Chinese Superman. So many different things you can do. So I love that they have these ideas, even if they don't use them or not. They're still out there in the open that they can play with.
They're leaving themselves the threads to pull on later, which kind of lazy, but it's good for the fans because eventually those of us who are really, really hoping for these things to be spread out and expanded on will hopefully eventually get. But overall, I think this Daughter of as long as it's not. I don't know if there's a scenario, I'm going to be honest, I don't know if this is a scenario where Lizzie/Trinity has a humanoid father who gave DNA to the project, right? I don't think there's a version of that I like. I think the only way for me to really like it is for Diana to kind of do this on her own. I don't know if that's terrible or if that's me just hating men or something, but I feel like it would be a lot more accurate to what the fans want, maybe, to just have her be as her own thing that Diana created the same way she was created. And there's been, otherwise in news, a few rumored casting announcements for Superman Legacy, which, as at this point, I think we all know, is the James Gunn upcoming Superman project. Now, number of theories and rumors have happened. I think the biggest one that people know about actually isn't even Superman. I think it's the Lex Luthor casting because the actor is very much more well known. But apparently Nicholas Hoult, what was he even in? He was in some zombie movie.
He was Beast.
He was Beast. Oh, that's not even as. We just saw him in something
recent. He was also in The Menu.
He was in, what was that one we just watched? With there we go, Renfield. He was in Renfield.
Oh yeah.
Apparently he's in The Great as the King. Warm Bodies was fine, I'm sure. Mad Max was great, let's be honest. Skins was the American one. Wait, no, he would have been in the British one, wouldn't he? Because he's British. Holy shit. I only watched a few episodes of that, so I can't actually make... Oh, About a Boy. That was his first project. Jack the Giant Slayer, X-Men, we know about those. Apparently there was a Tolkien movie. I didn't even know that happened. But anyway, we know he's a decent enough actor. Can he play Lex Luthor? I don't know. That's not really my point. My point is that James Gunn loves to tweet about how he's not going to cast what everybody expects, so he's going to go in a different direction. Oh, I'm not going to cast a straight white man for this gold character. and then cast a straight white man for the gold character. He's that kind of casting guy, let's be honest. So this is not a surprising casting opinion from him. Somebody who is extremely well known, in my opinion, who has a lot of a supernatural fan base. This is kind of a win for him if he casts him, so yay for Nicholas Hoult. I guess he's going to be in the DC family. Any thoughts on Nicholas Hoult?
I guess he just casted him he just saw him in the menu for his weird, eccentric takes.
I certainly don't think that he was cast due to his X-Men role.
No, and he was definitely one of those people that was already on Warner Brothers' short list of people they preferred and liked to work with, because he was also in the running to play the Batman as well.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Not very surprising.
And apparently there was, like, some rumor they were saying a Guardians cast member would be in Superman Legacy. I saw this tweet, and I can't help
This is actually a good one.
This is actually really good. I can't help but, like, I love it. Will Poulter is Wally West Flash, specifically.
He was,
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock, thank you.
I hated him as Adam Warlock.
We just talked about that.
Horrible casting for that.
Absolutely trash.
Bad casting does not make any sense. But him
I'm not going to cast a straight white man, cast Will Poulter.
I mean, it's not even the straight white man part. It's just he just said he wasn't going to cast a generic white guy.
It was literally a generic white guy.
But Will Poulter as Wally West, that is perfect.
He's a generic white guy.
Because he's a generic white guy.
He's a generic redhead.
Well, and then also, like, I think he could nail, like, you know, Wally's, like, quirkiness, and also the whole thing of, like, the Midwestern conservative who then becomes communist.
Not only that, I think he could nail the, like, kind of bitter, younger generation hero.
Yes.
Who is like, old man, I could beat you in a race, and then runs into a wall because he gets juked out or something, you know? Like, I feel like he could play that really, really well. We've seen him in a lot of stuff. We've seen him as a villain in... Oh, geez. It was that book that was named after... No, it was the movie... It had Dylan O'Brien in it, too. I know a lot of people wanted Dylan O'Brien to be Batman. I would not, to be frank. I feel like he's very soft. Is that mean? I don't know.
Dylan, I would probably see him better as, like, a Tim Drake. He is, like, big Tim Drake
vibes. Yes, Tim Drake he does have Tim Drake vibes. You're correct with that. So then the third one, of course, actually there's 4. But the third one is obviously Superman. They weren't going to have rumors about other characters in the Superman movie without also having a rumor about Superman. I don't even think this is a rumor. It's just saying that he's one of the top contenders, which means that he's probably going to win it if he can pull it off in the screening room or whatever. Whoa, my mouse is going crazy. The article that I'm looking at right now says that there are 2 other unknown actors said to be in the mix. Does unknown mean that they're unknowns or that we don't know who they are? Probably the latter. But this guy's name is David Cornsweet, which is quite unfortunate, to be frank. It's not spelled like sweat, at least, so that's something. He looks pretty much exactly like a young actor who plays Superman, I suppose. I don't really know what I expected, but...
The only thing that I can appreciate about this is that he got somebody that I've never heard of.
That's true. And that's
where
better. And there certainly is better photos and less better photos of him.
He does. I could definitely, like, looking at this guy, like, he could definitely put on the frame of being Superman. But yeah, I appreciate that he is an unknown, and it gives people like me who are kind of apprehensive about the whole James Gunn stuff a little bit like, okay, this is an unknown, so there might be something decent about it. And then it also gives this kid a chance to, you know, show his chops and that he's, you know, maybe has a chance. But yeah, looks-wise, I mean, his couple pictures, he looks like he could be pretty decent. So
yeah.
We'll see. I'm glad it wasn't somebody easy. Like I can't even think of any, but I'm just glad it wasn't an
whatever that rumor was that people were like, oh, such and such is on the top of his list.
Because
there was all the jokes about he scratches off the name.
Yeah, I love that. But it's also like, you know, if you're not going to do Henry Cavill, he clearly did go the complete opposite route, a younger unknown guy. So I did appreciate that he did stick to that. I fuck the Snyderverse people, you know, the weird, not the people who, like, I genuinely like the movies, but the weird, like, picketing and, like, mental illness fans who, like, go and hate on shit and, like, use bots to vote. But, like, I did appreciate Henry Cavill as Superman. So, but yeah, it's nice to see that this is something completely different.
it looks like the fourth and final casting. This one is actually a rumor that actress Emma Mackey, or Mackey is probably actually how you say that. That would make more sense, wouldn't it? Is going to be Lois Lane. This one has a little bit of an interesting take for me. I need to look her up really quick because I have this thing that's been going on in the comics that I've been a little bit wow, that's definitely not her. Google does not have results. Actress. Jeez. There we go. Jeez. I spelled it wrong. Okay. Oh, she's gonna be in Barbie. She was in Sex Education. I didn't see that. I don't know what Emily is. I don't know what Eiffel is. Death on the Nile didn't. I think we watched the first 5 minutes of that and we just couldn't.
We watched it.
Was it the whole thing?
It was extremely forgettable.
Okay, that explains it. So she's been in a couple of different things. Look like she and a couple of high Hollywood names are good friends. If she was in Death on the Nile and Barbie.
Yeah, Death on the Nile had that really like awkwardly and hilariously timed scene of like Armie Hammer nibbling on a woman right around the time when he was having all those things come out. Yeah, so
that's
it was really funny because it's like, oh, did he improv that, or was that something?
Was that what you actually wanted to do?
Yeah. So yeah.
What I'm trying to say, okay, so she's French British. Okay, so she's not a woman of color. So that let's see, the other rumor was, I think, a blonde woman, a blonde actress. Let's see, the name was, same actress, just blonde. Cool. No. Emma Mackey and Samara Weaving. Those are both blonde white actresses. Okay, so the thing that I was kind of leaning towards here was, in the current Superman series, which is only a few issues in right now, Lois Lane is being drawn as brown. And I don't think I need to really explain what I mean by that. If you go and check it out, you will see exactly what I'm talking about. You don't get a lot of, traditionally white women who wear dark purple lipsticks and have the very tan skin. It's a combo that you only really see in women of color, the dark purple lipstick and the tan skin. It may be because we have a man of color drawing the series. What's his name?
Jamal Campbell.
Thank you, Jamal Campbell. Also a fantastic artist. This is nothing against him. It's, if anything, against editorial for leaning at this direction. But I think they're definitely trying to make Lois in the comics seem more, as odd as it is to say, ethnic than she ever was. And part of me feels like that's leading up to them casting a woman of color in the movies. But we'll have to just wait and see, I guess.
Yeah, and what is it? So the Samara Weaving rumor, I kind of like that because I cannot remember what I've seen her in, but I've seen her in a couple things. She definitely... I don't care about looks-wise for Lois Lane.
Sure, it doesn't really matter. It's not the point.
I want her to have that, like, fiery journalistic stuff, and I think Samara Weaving has that, because the things I've seen her, and she's been like, no, fuck you, man, give me the truth right now, I want to hear it. And that is Lois Lane in a nutshell. Mm-hmm. She is the one who, like, I know the truth, like, she is what you want, like, if an idealistic, investigative journalist is Lois Lane and will not take no for an answer. She wants the truth to be known to the people.
That's the thing about Lois Lane, though. I think that she has unique over other women like that. She does not have resting bitch face.
She does not. And that's why Samara Weaving has that. She can really play that edge of, like, yeah, I will plant my feet and, like, sit here for 5 hours and argue with you and win.
And be totally fine with that.
And that's what you want for Lois Lane. Mm-hmm. You don't want looks. You don't want, like, attractiveness.
You don't want her to look like a boss, necessarily.
Exactly.
That's not what we're trying to get here.
You don't want Lois Lane to look like a bitch. You want her to have that edge of, like, that's the kind of thing, because what I've always thought as a fan of, like, comics and stuff, of, like, that's why Superman / Clark Kent fell in love with her, is that this Earth woman who will sit here, dig her heels into the sand and be like, fuck you, I'm standing for these ideals and values I have. That's just my take on it, of how Lois Lane should be casted.
I think the final thing about the Superman Legacy movie that's worth mentioning is this Hollywood Reporter blurb saying that the movie is going to be populated by, quote, many faces, as it will seek to introduce DC heroes that are already established in the movie's setting. Risky move, IMO. I'm not really sure that's ever worked before. I know we've done it, where we've seen a superhero movie where you see a superhero establish themselves and then discover a whole other established league of superheroes. That never works. Please don't be that, because we know that doesn't work.
I hope it's something like extremely minor, like somebody like fucking, oh god, this would be a great way to introduce Blue Beetle, man. Not Blue Beetle, but Booster Gold.
Booster Gold,
like,
oh yeah.
Just some lame, like, you don't even, just some lame brain guy, like, stopping somebody robbing a bank. You don't need somebody, like, you can't introduce, like, somebody, like, big and grandiose. Like, it could be somebody like Vixen stopping some guy from robbing a bank, you know.
I mean, Vixen's pretty cool, but yeah.
But you know what I mean? Like, you don't need
this lower tier, exactly. Not a household name.
Exactly, like the C and D list, you know, DC characters who've never had solo titles that always show up in team books that people are like, oh my god, I love them, they're so quirky. I could totally see that working. Like, God, can you imagine how cool it would be, like, Booster Gold going into somewhere and be, like, trying to get free food, and they're like, why would I give you free food? Be like, oh, I saved this guy last week, and they're like, yes, Superman saved somebody last week. Who the fuck are you?
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
And even I know the Plastic Man fans are gonna come when I say this, but, like, even, like, a funny thing of Plastic Man, because I know he has a hardcore fan base. He's one of those guys who always pops up in the Justice League books and Justice Society stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. It'd be pretty cool.
But yeah, all in all, in the Superman Legacy thing, it sucks for Henry Cavill. I'm a big fan of him. I have a big attachment to his Superman movie, you know, whatever other means, but I'm excited to see, like, new things, because as somebody, for me, like, my bar was, you know, I thought Ben Affleck Daredevil movie was good, because I took what I could get. So now at this point, it's really cool to see, like, we have all these different iterations of Superman. I'm still apprehensive about James Gunn and his vision, but, you know, we'll at least give it a chance.
I'm not, and it's just kind of transitioning into our discussion of Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, which, to be frank, we have not watched entirely, because we'll talk about that in a second. Yeah. We'll talk about that in a second. But as fans of those movies, and also, at one point, I'm going to be honest here, this is something I haven't thought about in a long-ass time. There was a point in our relationship where I was saying that I wanted James Gunn to officiate our wedding.
You did, I remember that.
Exactly. Yeah. I am not even making this up. That's how big of a fan I was at one point. Whatever that horror movie was.
Yeah.
Yeah, right? It was a thing. I really wanted this. Whatever that horror movie was in the Office Space, where they're in another country and they basically have to kill off a certain amount of people. That was one of the best horror movies I've ever seen. Brightburn, let's be honest, was kind of mid.
It's the whole what if Superman was evil?
Yeah, it pretty much we've seen it before. All things considered, James Gunn is not a bad... I mean, he's obviously not a bad filmmaker. Nobody's saying that. What I am saying is he still falls prey to the standard cliches and such. Especially as I saw most recently in his Suicide Squad movie. There was a lot of really negative cliches. You had light-skinned black woman good, dark-skinned black woman bad. You had a lot of stuff like that was extremely people trying to be liberal but actually being still falling into the faults of not, standard.
The Belko Experiment.
Thank you, the Belko Experiment. That was the good one. That was the horror movie I really loved. But he's not at all the perfect filmmaker. He still has the flaws of trying to make himself anti-racist, so he accidentally goes too far and kind of like going so far to the left that he makes himself right, that kind of thing. And so I was to begin with, especially since he's been married, has cast his wife in pretty much everything he's put out, and also has started, for whatever reason, bleaching his hair white, which looks god-awful. But I've just lost a lot of faith in what he could possibly make as a man like that. I don't know if that sounds terrible. I don't really care if it sounds terrible. But, so we didn't plan from the start to see Guardians in theaters, Volume 3. Granted, we love Volume 1. My first time seeing it was in Colorado right after weed was legalized, and I was not involved in that. So it was not a great experience, but the second one I enjoyed. There was still plenty not to like about it. I love the first now probably more than the second, for sure. What were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, I prefer the first movie. Oh my god, I'll never forget. It was May 2014. My dad had passed away of cancer in November 2013, and so I go and see that movie, and the first 10 minutes is like Peter Quill sitting in there watching his mom on her deathbed to cancer, and I'm like, oh my god.
That was the summer, 2 summers before we met.
Yes, yeah, that was when I was like, okay, maybe these comic book movies can actually hit on more than just like cool comic book themes.
Which kind of at that point was all we really got. Because we got Captain America
the same year, and that was like, wow.
Yeah, that was the year things really kicked off. All these people trying to say, oh, nothing will ever be like phase whatever of Marvel again.
No, 2014 MCU was peak, in my opinion.
Pre that, you guys really are lying to yourselves if you're saying that was fantastic cinema. It was fine. Captain America, the first movie, was fine.
Yeah.
Iron Man 3 was shit. We all know this. Yeah. Stop lying to yourselves. It was
2014 with because it was Winter Soldier and Guardians Volume 1 came out in that same year. That was when people
Winter Soldier was the one that Captain America Volume 1, absolute garbage.
It wasn't garbage. It was okay.
People would watch that movie and were like, I don't see how any of this matters. Like, sure, Nick Fury's there at the end, but like,
I just remember walking
he's this old ass man.
I remember walking out of that in 2011 going, holy shit, I just realized that was the same guy who played Human Torch. That was how good he did in that movie, that I was like, damn, I didn't even realize it.
Not even to mention Not Another Teen Movie, which was
Not Another Teen Movie, yes, he was
completely
covered
a
in whipped cream. Like,
only thing you could not see his genitals was whipped cream and a cherry.
That was like Chris Evans going like, yes, I am a good looking man in Hollywood. I'm going to take advantage. And
I'm going to sell that to get into the roles I want.
And then it's funny, he went from that to being like wholesome ass Captain America to like now he dresses up, doesn't show any skin, and is
When's
all
the last
sweet.
time you saw him in a non-wholesome role? Even every comedy, whatever romance that he's in, where he sleeps with a girl on the first date, he's still wholesome as heck.
Like, he'll get up and get her, like, breakfast the next day and be like, was that okay for you? Like,
he's still, like, a really nice dude. He's exactly what everybody would expect in his roles. He's been pigeonholed as heck.
Which is kind of funny.
We've gotten off track.
Whatever. It's fine. That's what a podcast is for. But I always have this funny, like, thing in my head. So, like, what if he's just an absolute raging dickhead in real life?
There used to be this joke on Tumblr for the girlies or the gays in the room. It was bearded Chris Evans next to a picture of shaven Chris Evans. And it was, shaven Chris Evans is the one that brings you home by 10 o'clock and says goodnight and calls you Mr. and Mr. Parents, whatever their names are. Bearded Chris Evans is the one who fucks your mom and has her call him daddy. Accurate.
Yes.
Just saying.
Love it.
What were you talking about? We're talking about Guardians. So
yeah, Guardians. Oh yeah. So
James Gunn and Guardians. This Guardians movie, we kind of came towards it with a very shaky feel. The two of us, I think, because of the whole like we've grown up and realized that a lot of the stuff that James Gunn has made is not as perfect as a lot of viewers would make it seem, well, and rubs people a lot the wrong way. Myself being one of them.
Well, and not only that, I feel like fandom in and of itself has taken a sharp, weird turn
into worship.
Yes, into like almost, and definitely like you said, like worship. It almost comes into worship territory of like, you know, yes, I can be a fan of something, but I also should be allowed to be critical of it too, which is such a weird thing that we've gotten into of like, if it's like, oh yeah, I can love something, but if I say anything like critiquing of it, I am considered a hater, and the whole fandom will jump on me. No, I can, like, I love Spider-Man, and I love Dragon Ball, and I have critiques with it, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to, and oh my god, Star Wars, I have a lot of critiques.
Yeah, you went off of the last episode about Spider-Man. Do you still love Spider-Man?
I absolutely adore Spider-Man. Exactly. And just like I said, what helped me really enjoy the Spider-Man comics is just treating it like a soap opera, instead of just hate reading. Sad. It's so sad, but it's also, like, so much more funny, and please keep the Paul memes going. Please keep
What was the one you showed me the other day? It was something really funny.
Oh yeah, it was the one of like, shit, Dan Slott is now trying to retcon that Peter had this sidekick called Spider-Boy the whole time. And that the whole Marvel Universe just somehow fucking forgot about it. Pete's sidekick, Spider-Boy. Somebody made this amazing thing of Kraven's Last Hunt, where it's Kraven standing over Peter's, quote, air quote, grave, and pulling off the mask and laughing. But instead they put fucking Spider-Boy, and when he pulls the mask off, because you don't know the Spider-Boy yet, it's fucking Paul. I died laughing reading that, dude. Whoever made that, like, I want to be your best fucking friend. Because that's like one, like, it's a Paul meme, but two, it's also like, you picked Craven's Last Hunt panel, so that means you read fucking Spider-Man. So you were up on this shit. Anyway, let's get back to Guardians, and I'll get back on Spider-Man.
No, that's totally fine.
But yeah, we've kind of been apprehensive about it because a lot of the intense scenes of animal torture.
This is more since it's come out and things have started revealing themselves about what's Granted, yes, in the comics we are aware
he does
that Rocket's past is
literal
rough.
roadkill. Yeah, he was literal roadkill.
There is a big ass difference between reading this stuff on paper than there is between hearing the visceral screams and the burning flesh. Big difference.
Yeah, it was, and it's not just like from us too. Like we've heard like numerous from like various
people who started crying uncontrollably in the theaters, people who had to leave the theater.
Well, not only that, like from people we know in real life and people we know via online that we've had long relationships with say like, yeah, this is kind of intense. What was it? I can't remember who it was. Somebody one of my Discords went to go see it, and they were like, and even Mr. Sunday Movies said this as well. They were like, I'm not going to take my kids to see this because it's only two brief scenes, but they were saying they were so intense of like animal torture and death. Apparently, it was like real animal squeals too. So it's like even more so of like weird. What is that meme? Today's episode of the writer's oddly disguised fetish.
Yeah, like
that kind of thing.
We really don't need that to be so visceral.
What is it? What is it saying that we were comparing it to before of like something where it didn't actually show up, but you could automatically assume what was going on? I can't remember what it was we were talking about. It was something similar that was done where it's like.
I mean, there's plenty of ways to tell a story with visuals
that you don't need to show that.
Yeah, I definitely feel like whether that was James Gunn's idea or not, I feel like that was definitely them cashing in on, I don't know how else to say, but like blood money on like, let's get the people who want to see this horrible thing happen.
Well, not only that, like it's also, I also feel like it could be like, this is my last movie with Marvel.
He wanted to make his stamp.
So I don't think that, but like, let me see how much I can get away with. Like, it's my last movie here, so I can push the bar. I can get away with as much. And apparently I heard somewhere too that he also snuck in 2 F-bombs. So it's like another thing of like that kind of leads to my thing of like I want to sneak in as much as I can get.
I did hear about the F-bomb. I heard there was only one.
Okay.
I heard a lot of people were really upset about it. I don't know the context. I have no idea. I haven't read enough spoilers or watched enough shitty film of it to see yet. Yeah, bring that into it. Yeah, it does really feel like he was trying to go out with a bang, which the sense that it doesn't.
No, I don't feel like more of a bang, but I feel like James Gunn is definitely the type of dude now that he's with DC to like, let me cause a low-key shitstorm for them because they fired me for some Twitter jokes as I go over to DC and kind of do my thing over here. Because it wouldn't surprise me because if I was in his shoes, I would low key probably do the same. Like you fired me over some Twitter jokes, so I'm gonna kind of like sneak in as much weird shit, not weird shit, but like as much shit in here as I can to like give you some issues as I kind of drop the mic and walk out the back door.
Which is not really a good thing to look up to.
No, it's not. But like as I kind of get that. But I've seen a lot of people dig Adam Warlock.
Really?
Yeah, I've seen some people say he's pretty cool in that. But I'm a big Adam Warlock fan, not just because a little bit because my name is Adam Warlock, but I just feel like his casting is weird and how they've done him in this is just off. Mm-hmm. But I'll reserve my full opinions on that until we see it.
I have to add, just because it was something that we had brought. Oh my god! It was that tweet. Somewhere I retweeted it. It was this thing of like, oh, the comic book character outfit, and then the on-screen outfit. And it was in a comic book character outfit. It's this wild-ass, like, different heart-shaped things all over the body, and, like, the shoes are these wild stilettos, and then the movie version outfit is, like, they have a black onesie with a pink heart on the collar. Like, I don't know, I know I've mentioned this before on this podcast. There's a number of characters who James Gunn has put in his Guardians movies who have incredible comic book outfits that he has put in just Ravager strips of clothing, basically. Wildly disappointing as a comic fan of, like, stupid comic shit. I want to see the stupid comic shit make it into the movie some more. I don't like seeing it toned down that much. That's dumb. That's not what we fell in love with. Let's see our stupid comic shit. We can make it work. I'm sure there's been things that we've seen to make it work before. Show me my stupid comic outfits. I'm cool with that looking dumb on screen.
To backpack off your point, I've been saying this since 2018. They made fucking Thanos, an 8-foot-tall fucking purple dude, look real as shit, and every scene he interacted with people looked real as fuck. So, like, that's kind of where my bar is now, like, because I remember before, like, it was in 2017.
There's no reason not to be screen accurate.
Well, like, even before, like, I remember I bought the shirt, like, of Thanos in Infinity War and wore that to the movie because I knew that was going to happen, because I was, like, I was even, like, really, I was even telling you, I'm like, I don't know how they're going to make him work. Like, it's, like, how are they going to make this guy work? Going into Infinity War in 2018, I'm still, like, even in 2023, I'm still blown away to this day how awesome and great he looks. Like, because when they said they spent $1 billion making that, most of that probably went into making Josh Brolin and Thanos look like a real fucking person. And then seeing the behind the scene things of, like, this is like, I gotta give it, like, you know, it is a green screen room, but the fact that, like, literally it was a thing that Josh Brolin was standing there and he had to wear this thing that sat on top of his head that went up to 8 feet that was Thanos' head. And then he had to wear, like, this big glove, and so he's acting with this, like, upper, like, bust torso on top of his head with this. The fact that they made that look good, like, it's inexcusable why they can't make other stuff look real and crazy and comic booky. They made this 8-foot-tall purple dude with the crazy ass chin look real. Like, they can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I think Drax in the comics had changed before the movie, right? Or was the change after?
Well, that's the whole thing that blew me away about that too. So to even go back to that is that, like, that Bendis run was very, like, not even like a year
where he was the new Drax.
Where he was the new Drax.
For the first time.
Like, it had...
Not a robot.
It hadn't even been, like, 3 or 4 years, and they were already doing this. So that's... I totally thought we were going to get the classic cheesy, like, Yondu Guardians. And then I go in there, and I'm like, oh, they're doing the fucking Bendis Guardians. Oh, shit.
Which was brand new at that time.
Which is literally brand new. Like, it was really crazy to see. They had kind of... was it the Annihilation event? They had kind of started that team, and they kind of, like, fizzled out and didn't do anything.
Yeah, because
then
then
came in and
Moondragon came in with her dad, and they killed Thanos, or he killed Thanos, and then he died, and Moondragon mourned him.
Yeah, and then Annihilus had fucking one of the coolest Galactus moments ever, dude. Fucking Annihilus had Galactus trapped, and he was like, "You want to see the power of the Devourer?" Galactus breaks out and fucking, like, eats half of Annihilus's universe. It was so baller. I highly recommend Annihilation. It's a fantastic series.
Similarly, and off topic, there is a Magic Ileana Rasputin arc of, I can't quite remember, but I want to say it was New Mutants or X-Men during her time under Cyclops as their leader. She faced off with Dormammu in the Dark Dimension and left him begging and crying. That shit was hot. Anyway...
we can get into comics talk about Spider-Man and go from there. I think that's a perfect segue.
Yeah, sure. I guess the last thing that we'll cover on this episode, which has been very much free from the hip, is more comic book stuff. And for myself, I would just like to mention I didn't really cover the Free Comic Book Day. I mean, I didn't all cover Free Comic Book Day this week. There was a lot of really good stuff. And from DC Comics in particular, they had the kickoff to their newest event. Don't get me started on events, but it is called Night Terrors. Not entirely sure how this one will sit with current fans and readers of the comics. The thing that is really good about this one is I think it's going to be very much like the Future State event, where you have just a ton of info about these other comics and these other characters that aren't really usually in the comics, and that's a really, really good way to bring in interest about those characters, and especially bring in new readers. And I mentioned this last week, but Night Terrors has over a dozen 2-shots, which means there are 2 issues coming. It's 2 issue specials for each of these characters. And this is really important because these are, a lot of them, not characters who we see every week or every month in the comics, in current comics. This is very much clearly, to me, them putting out these characters to see what people take and what they latch onto, and that will be the future of DC Comics. That's what I mean when I say this is a really great jumping on point for new fans and for potentially the new future of DC Comics, because the characters, the books that we're getting for Night Terrors, these are all going to be duos of books for each of these topics. We've got Action Comics, Angel Breaker, Batman, Black Adam, Catwoman, Detective Comics, The Flash, Green Lantern, Harley Quinn, The Joker, Nightwing, Poison Ivy, Punchline, Ravager, Robin, Shazam, Superman, Titans, Wonder Woman, and Zatanna. Half of those characters we do not see regularly in Marvel, and ever in Marvel, in DC Comics. To me, that is just their way of seeing how popular are these characters and how much do people actually want to keep up with these things. And that's going to decide what they do with the future of DC Comics. Future state in the past is still a little bit of an effect on the future, obviously, because there was a lot of stuff they did then that people still want to see play out. But this is going to be the next step. I guess every 2 years is more or less how they're going to do this at DC. They're going to reset it properly every 2 years. Although that wasn't really a reset. Night Terrors isn't a reset. It was right before this they did a reset, sort of. It's not really a reset. DC was DC Rebirth, then it was DC Universe, and now it's
whatever. Dawn of DC.
Dawn of DC. And then next is going to be whatever comes after Night Terrors. So I think it's a great jumping off point, and I'm really excited to see. I'm very much hoping that they put out their best efforts in these, because that's literally how you get fans. And that's how I got into comics in the past, was through events. And as much as we hate all of these event one-shots for different characters and teams, that's how you get new people in comics. So there you go. You had some stuff you wanted to say about the Spider-Man run, I know.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I do appreciate how they kind of, how DC has done the thing. Oh, yeah. Now everything is canon. So
yes. Oh gosh, it's been so nice.
it really makes things less confusing. So it's like, oh, this is this character for this. Like, no, they remember all of it. It's all canon.
Supergirl. Sorry, Power Girl. I'm so excited for her series and her one shot coming at the end of the month. Very interested in that.
Well, just think that just makes it like so much. It just opens up the door so much for the writers and creators on these books to not just be like confined to like, oh, this is the status quo right now. No, every status quo is the status quo. Have fucking fun. Knock yourself out. But yeah, as far as the Spider-Man stuff goes, there was a couple things that I saw, there's a lot of discourse going on, and for the people who are genuinely out here hate reading, don't hate read, man. It's
find
not
something
healthy.
Better to do with your time.
It's not healthy.
And mental health.
It's not healthy. It's not good. And it's also, dude, Spider-Man's backlog is massive.
Spider-Man doesn't need your money.
Spider-Man doesn't need your money as well, but, like, his backlog is massive. You can go back and pick up any run, whatever your favorite was. I highly recommend they just re-released the J. Michael Straczynski Omnibus. Probably my favorite run of Spider-Man ever. Go back and read that. That was a lot of the wedding stuff. You could have them still be together and not worry about any of the issues. But I saw a great quote that really sums up the people who are getting, like, severely upset. A lot of you Spider-Man fans have never lived through Clone Saga. A lot of you Spider-Man fans have never lived through Peter having the miscarriage with Norman, a.k.a. Norman getting Gwen pregnant and having secret twins. A lot of you Spider-Man fans have never lived through some random guy getting introduced to being Spider-Man, a.k.a. Ben Reilly. Like, another thing leading into the Clone Saga. So I'm saying, and a lot of you Spider-Man fans have never read Superior Spider-Man, where Doc Ock literally became Spider-Man.
I read that one.
So please, this is,
calm down.
Yeah. Seriously, calm down, get over it. They have, my main point is, Spider-Man since One More Day has been known for ridiculous stuff they've done in this book. Don't lose your shit over it. And then also, like, it's just a comic. Just read other stuff. It's not that serious.
Yeah, it doesn't exist when you cease to read it.
Yeah, like, if you literally just, like, put it down and read something else, it's fine. For me, I just, like I said before, I've said it numerous times, this book is so much more enjoyable when I read it as a soap opera, because I don't get pissed, because I'm like, oh yeah, this is this cheesy stuff. But the people who are out there who are like, this feels like Zeb Wells and Nick Loeb's cuckold fetish? I agree with you.
How can you not, though?
Exactly. How can you not? It definitely feels like that, and so
there's a reason there's that saying, this week in the writer's fetish.
Exactly. So I totally get those concerns, because it definitely feels like that, and that's why I think the Paul memes are fucking hilarious.
Oh yeah, even I get it. I don't read that comic, but I absolutely get it.
And then also, there's another thing that I saw. Like, they released another Into the Spider-Verse trailer, and it's another great shot of Mayday Parker and Pete and MJ, being married. It's another thing I saw. Somebody said, like, hopefully this movie breaks the box office enough to have an impact on the comics, because we need a serious course correction sooner rather than later. I agree. I agree in that, because, through the whole Beyond event, Zeb Wells was definitely setting it up to pump fake us, because he brought in Ben and Janine. He had Pete engaged to MJ again. I totally thought they were setting us up to Pete and MJ go to, New Jersey or somewhere for a while and just live and raise the kid. And they even had that was a great issue of Ben and Miles teaming up. Fantastic. Those two gelled so well together. And they're like, maybe we should do this again sometime. And they fist bump. That was the moment I was like, dude, they're going to do Ben Reilly's Spider-Man and Miles hanging out in New York City. That would have made so much sense, because you give Peter a chance to go off and be a dad, and then you get his brother, who's like, I don't really feel like I have a space in this world to do anything. Gives him a space. And then also, if the writer is good enough and a big enough fan, you could totally bring in Kane Parker, the third brother, who's even more of who has a degenerative disease. Yeah, who's like, I don't know what to do. I got you, bro. But yeah,
let's live your life to the fullest.
Let's live it, yeah. But it's that whole thing of like, because my point being is that it seems the MCU and a lot of Marvel comics recently have been shifting more towards what's going on in the movies to get more people in. Cue Agatha Harkness.
Do not even get me started about Agatha Harkness. It makes me so mad.
Cue a lot of cue almost any and all Scarlet Witch anything in the comics since the WandaVision show. Like, prime example of that. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that. So that's why I'm kind of hoping that they see people lose their shit over Mayday Parker, because that just whole thing is adorable. Because then at that point in time, like, Aunt May's gone. Pete doesn't have to worry about that. He's with MJ. They genuinely want to have kids and build a future together. That just let him.
That's his only concern.
Let him have that. And so I feel like if this movie comes out and it does buku numbers, they'll be like, maybe we can change that.
You can do a little bit of a slice of life with Peter Parker.
You really
can also, at the same time, give him some horrendous, stressful shit to go through. Separate from his wife and daughter, because let's be honest, that is an old and tired story. I'm gonna go capture your wife and child, and we've seen that in movies. We've seen that literally in every topic there is to be said.
Like not even kidding, the reason why people love Spider-Man is because he's the everyman. So what more relatable story can you have?
Just have him be a regular dude in his real life.
Than a guy having to stop a bank robbery and pick up diapers and be home by 7.
Yeah.
What is more relatable than that, dude?
Yeah.
Come the fuck on.
I think it's just the fact that right now we're at a point in comics where the concept of what you would call a anime or manga slice of life is not really something you can successfully put into American comics. Unless I'm mistaken, there isn't really anything out there like that. But that is, it seems, a lot, especially in superhero fans at this point, decades and decades and decades on from where they were originated, it really seems that may be a portion of the future of superhero comics, because people really seem to want that, including Peter and his family. That's a major stronghold of that argument. That kind of wraps up what we had planned for this episode. It's a little bit of a loosey-goosey episode. I did want to mention before we log off here that we did try to watch the Dungeons and Dragons movie with Chris Pine and etc. folks. Holy shit, it was bad. I think when you have two people who are probably like a little bit tipsy, maybe more than that, who can't functionally continue watching a movie because it's so bad that them in that mind state are like, oh my god, this is not a good movie, that's not a good sign. But that's a situation when we watched the Dungeons and Dragons movie, and it was genuinely not good. So very, very disappointing. I think the theory in that one is very similar to our theory with the... What was the Chris Evans movie that we watched with Ana de Armas? Whatever that one is that everybody's like obsessed with because Ana de Armas is in it and she's very beautiful. Also not a good movie at all. Both of those movies, D&D and whatever that other one was they were very much, this is the last movie these actors have to get off their contract for. And so they're gonna do exactly what they always do in movies, play the same characters that they always play, act the same way they always act. And that's about it. It was extremely boring. And just everybody doing exactly the same stuff they always do in movies when they play the same characters they always play. Super disappointing. Did you have anything to add?
No. It
was just not good.
We might go back and try it again. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see.
Yeah.
But yeah, eventually we'll do a full coverage of Guardians of the Galaxy, because while it did not have the cosmic space lesbians that I hoped in it, aka Moondragon and Phyla-Vell, hopefully somebody who is a better costume designer will get on those characters. But oh god, James Gunn would have destroyed their costumes. Oh my god. But yeah, we'll eventually watch it and we'll give a full review. Because it's fair, you know, we'll hate on things a little bit, but for fair reasons. So we'll eventually watch that, and we'll see how it actually goes, and I'll give an honest opinion on it at that point. Would you like to be a part of that when that happens?
Keys.
Yeah, we'll see when we eventually watch it, and we'll kind of go from there. So that is the end of today's podcast episode. Yes, I am behind on other things for the podcast. Shit happens. What can I say? Although I'm not gonna lie, I have been a little bit of a downer to myself. It would be nice to get if you've gotten this far in the podcast, send me a message. Let me know that you're listening. I don't know who listens to this far in the podcast. I promise I'm not mean. Unless you deserve it. Just kidding. But not really. But yeah, that would really help me feel like I'm doing something for somebody other than just my boring bedroom. So have a great week. Mid-May already. Holy crap, I was in mid-May already. That blows my mind. But summer is on its way. Stay hydrated, you hippies, and don't be a dick.